Bye, peace. Opa!
Hi, Pat. I see you. I can see you.
I don't know what else.
That's the turn. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, all right.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there.
It's nice to see you all. We have a total of 40 people replied, so we're expecting a few more, but there's no waiting room. So as people come, they'll just join, and it'll be great. So I want to welcome you to the first Leap Live event, an interview with Chris, co-founder of the Nature Printing Society. Chris and I will be speaking for about 45 minutes, so to about 7:45. Then we'll stop and take your questions from the chat. You notice I put everyone on mute just because it will be hard to manage a large group, everyone with questions. So type your questions into the chat and I'll read as many as I can get to in that time. If we happen to run a little over and you want to keep asking questions, that's also fine. I think we're ready to go. Let me look at my list. Yes, the one more thing I wanted to mention is this will also be archived at the University of California, Davis in its entirety, including the little video at the beginning and Chris's slides. But also for those that couldn't make it tonight, we'll be sending out a link to this whole recorded interview that they can watch on the LEAP site. And we'll send you a link to that. It'll go up sometime in April, I believe. So let's start. It's nice to see you all. It's really a pleasure. Chris, thanks for being here.
Okay.
Let's start with the first basic question, how you began the Nature Printing Society, how you met Eric and Bob.
Okay, well, that was a long time ago. I was in short pants. I had sort of known Eric before because we're both marine scientists. But the person who brought us together was Dr. Hiyama. He knew Bob Little, and he communicated, and he said, are there other people that I should kind of talk to? Or he said to Bob, you should talk to Chris and to Eric, because he knew about us as printers. And so he brought us together, and then we got to know each other. Bob would come out of the wintry East every winter and come out to California.
Yes.
And either be in Southern California or up in San Francisco. And we would go do stuff, we would print, or we'd go for walks and stuff like that, showing the different vegetation of California in the wintertime.
And there's so much of it, yeah.
Compared to back there then. So, and we were sitting around one day and we said, you know, why don't we form an organization? There gotta be other closet-based printers around the US. And, you know, maybe there are 15 people would be interested. So we went ahead and first incorporated it in Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. And the rest is history.
It sure is, because you said that pretty soon you had over 100 members, which must have really surprised you.
Right, yeah. At first, the members were primarily, we had a couple members from Japan, Germany, Pennsylvania, California, Texas. That would probably be the epicenters of it to start with. And then once the word got around, then I'd say within about 3 years, we were up to over 100 members. And we were kind of, as they say, gobsmacked by that.
Gobsmacked, yeah, that's a great word. Were there, you mentioned when we were talking earlier, some other folks that have been members since the early years. I know some people have passed away, but there are still some that are still with us.
Right.
Who are some of those folks?
Well, Eva Zebar was a very active member at the beginning from British Columbia. Very interesting woman. Someday when we have more time, I'll talk more about her. She was dynamic, to say the least. Ida Geary in the San Francisco Bay Area, plant printer, where she liked to self-proclaim queen of plant printing.
Right.
And she was a definite forceful leader in the area. She taught classes in all over the place and was a journalist as well and a naturalist. And she was very important. Renata Sawyer, back in Pennsylvania, back on the East Coast and later in Florida, was very involved and actually translated Peter Heilmann's book on North American plant printers.
I didn't know that. I've only seen her shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Heather Fortner, Diana Bowman in Texas, and she's still active. I mean, she's still got her business going and doing artwork. Um, Elena Orsini is someone that people may not have heard of. She was a wild, how do I describe her? A creative rock printer. She would hike back into the Sierras up behind Yosemite and do these giant rock prints on Okawara paper.
You
And,
told me, how many feet were they?
well, they were Okawara paper, I think is, 38 by 72 or something like that. So they were 3 feet by 6 feet. So they were massive pieces, beautiful relief. And we did some shows together, and she got involved in other stuff, but she's still around, still interested. And someone we should get at a workshop to teach us rock printing.
That would be great.
Peter Harlan was involved, Terry Ravey in Texas, Jackie Curta, Flo Shell, Helene Moore, Marion Cromley, all those people. So there was a cohort of people.
Sonia?
And Sonia Larson.
And Sonia Larson.
Yeah, she came in maybe she came in about when the Smithsonian show happened. That's where she first saw it.
So
early
what year,
80s.
what year was that? Around 1981, 1980?
1981.
Can you tell us how that show got started?
Yeah, I could. I haven't gone around the bend yet. Good you're interviewing me now. So it started, I was gardening one day here, and we got a call from the Smithsonian. Every day I get a call from the Smithsonian, and Dr. Eugene Balin was calling to ask me if I wanted to have a show of fish prints at the Smithsonian. They'd been contacted by someone who had proposed the idea that whoever that person was has a show. And Dr. Balin had seen Dr. Hiyama's show in New York in 1956. And he knew that the stuff they'd been offered by this other person was not up to stuff. And so I said, yeah, I'd like to do that, but I don't want to do it as a solo show. We have this organization. It includes Japanese printers, plant printers. Let's do it as a Nature Printing Society show. And so that's how it started. And so we negotiated with them and had to narrow down. We got hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah, you said like 500 pieces?
something like 500 pieces entered, and we had
Yeah.
to narrow it down to under 100. And that was sort of difficult. We
How did-
actually rejected, well, we didn't accept all of the pieces entered by the Japanese, which was very awkward, very difficult. And then there were other people. I mean, I remember there was one print of someone had hit their cat in the carport, and they printed their kitten, a bunch of kittens. And so there were certain standards we had that we didn't think would be good for a national exhibit. All those, it wasn't
It's a good
poorly
print.
done. It wasn't. It was one of the best dead cat prints I'd seen. So that was sort of a difficult time, but it happened, and it opened in April of April, I think it was April 5th of 1981, and then toured for 6 years around the world. So, and introduced people to the art form.
Wow. And I think from what I was reading in your book, it went to New Zealand and Australia, or just one of them?
Just Australia. Went to
Just
Australia.
Australia?
Yeah. And Princess Di and Prince Charles saw it there, had a private showing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just am imagining cutting down 500 down to such a small number. And you said also it was hard because they weren't expecting both fish and leaf prints. Is that right?
Plant prints, and when we shipped the things off and they showed up, and it was like 2 days before it was going to be opening, the day before the opening, they said, we don't think we can put the plant prints up. We were expecting only fish. And that's when Ida Geary jumped into action, and she whipped them into shape, they being the Smithsonian staff. The rest of us, Bob and Eric and I, hid in a corner while that happened. And sure enough, the plant prints were included.
Oh, how many were there? Was it half, or was it
I'd say about a third of them. About a third of them were plant prints.
Oh, wow.
She had 20 Japanese.
They were
Fish.
smaller. Yeah.
They tended to be small. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we have the slides that you sent. How about if I try to share my screen and you talk us through those? Let's see if I can do this here. Okay. Are you seeing this, Chris?
I'm seeing that. Yeah.
All right. Why don't I'll go through and you tell us what you'd like to tell us about these.
Okay. This card was produced. That was a print of some young lingcod by Eva Zebar from British Columbia. And these cards were sent out when the exhibit traveled to various natural history museums and other museums around the US and Australia and Canada too, when it went to Canada. And these postcards were used as announcements, the show showing up. And if there was a Nature Printing Society member in the area, they often put on classes and exhibits and related to it, and demonstrations, so things like that. So it really was a very effective outreach program.
It looks like they're swimming right into my
Right.
into my office here.
She was good at this.
Okay. I included this print. One of the prints in the one on the right of the 3 filefish by Hamada was in the Smithsonian exhibit, and I bought it out of the exhibit. I was so impressed by it that I really wanted to have it for myself, and he was willing to sell it. And if you look on the top, his was indirect filefish. I did 3 direct butterfly fish, and with a similar sort of look, and that sort of defines my aesthetic for having the fish be relatively subtle, peaceful, with a lot of space around them, area to swim. And this design was so effective that Oceans Magazine wanted me to do. This is before Giclée, well before, to repeat these prints over and over. And so people would order it, and I figured maybe there 5 people would order prints and I would do it. But I got 45 orders. And it was a fundraiser for the Oceanic Society. And I got really sick of trying to do this sort of composition over and over and over again. But the fish was very durable.
Oh, lucky.
Did
you do them like over a week or a weekend or?
Oh no, they trickled in over months. I'd put it back in the freezer.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I'll have to look and see if I still have it. I don't.
I hope you don't.
Okay, well, recently, I think Lori Loftus put out a notice saying, show us some out of the box type of work for you, something that's outside your normal style. This was a commission of a retiring professor who studied chipmunks and other small mammals. The department, when he retired, they wanted to give him usually they would commission me to do a fish print, but since this guy did dead chipmunks, they commissioned me they said, could you print a chipmunk? And I said, well, I'll give it a try. So I did an indirect method print and mounted it over, some nice paper, and it looked like roadkill. So, so I went back and printed some redwood branches and rocks underneath to give it some habitat. So it was less roadkilly, less like those kittens that were submitted to the, I didn't enjoy doing this. It didn't smell right.
No.
I don't mind.
The eye is very lively.
Right. It had an ear tag too. So, okay. I can smell it from here. Oh, okay. Here, the international cooperation. This is a young man who's also on our call today, Mr. Yamamoto, and he and I had caught a friend of mine caught an opa, big opa, and I was awarded the head and the tail, and then we had to come up with a way to make it look like a real fish. So he and I got together. This is a Wild Acres, and we had a ball just co-designing this fish into a final print that was really quite nice. So that was fun, and it was a good sharing experience.
It's a great picture, Chris. It's really, I feel like you guys are jumping right out into the studio. And you were working on this stencil.
Stencils, to do stencils for the lettering. And then I filled in the other part by just using a tampo with a little bit of a texture behind it, and filled in the blank spaces.
Mm-hmm. And match the colors so carefully. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you can see what I had in terms of a print in the background on the wall.
Right.
The head and the tail.
Yeah.
I've done it. I did that again. We did it without the lettering. Just about 2 years ago, we had a great big one, and I reconstructed that too, because all I had were the fins and the tail and the head.
Where is it now?
It's right here in my in my studio.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could see it. All right. Okay.
I'll send my assistant Christy out to look for it.
Okay. We didn't talk about that.
It's rolled up in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if it happens. It happens.
You'll see. We have time. We have time.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This is my first book I did in 1984, I think it was 84, 85.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more of a taxonomic, but more of a book of trying to do a print of at least one fish of each family of Pacific Coast fishes.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a biologist at the Department of Fish and Game who on the side ran a publishing company. And so he wanted to publish the book. And so we put it together, and it was fun because I had to go all up and down the coast finding these fish and printing them, and then writing up some of their natural history and background, where they're found, and how you would eat them or whatever. And so they printed this book twice. The first edition was in hardcover.
Oh, is that this next slide? This one?
Next slide, yeah, that was the first edition. And
wow. I know when I'm printing fish, I'm always looking for the beautiful shapes, the next new interesting shape.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And that must have been fabulous to be able to do that for this book.
Right. It was really fun. Had some adventures. Got to go to Catalina, and they just let me fish in their marine reserve and save fish.
Wow.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
Look behind you. Look behind you. Nice. Oh, it's huge.
Can you see?
Is that backwards? No, that's front.
No, we can see. We can see how really big it is.
It's
I didn't
enormous.
realize.
103 pounds.
It's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
We ate it on board the boat, so there was no printing it.
I'm glad you got that. I didn't realize when it was hanging on the wall how big it was.
It's huge.
It's huge. You need to make a quilt out of it or something, so you
Right,
can have it around.
Yeah, I'm going to collaborate with a fabric artist to do something with it.
Well, we have a lot of them. You could. So we didn't talk about your most recent book, but I have it here. I'm just going to hold it up to my camera.
Okay, this one's more of a memoir, and with stories, poems, a lot of stuff about techniques, and a lot of art, short stories, things. It was really fun to do.
There's a huge variety in here. That's what I liked. Mm-hmm. And I also liked how you showed us how to fish print in both methods to start off, so we would know what it is we were seeing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, so I could, if I was new to fish printing, I could really appreciate all the other things that you began to tell us as you went through with the stepping stones, you know, in your life. Right.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really a very, very fun thing to do. I really enjoyed it. It just flowed out. It took less than a year to write it. So.
Wow. And when did that one come out again? I'm sorry.
End of 2017.
Oh, so really recent. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. What do we have next? Oh, this was a nice one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who are these? Manea was there too. This is in Oregon. This is Tom Sharp, who was the one who originally taught me how to do direct method fish printing in 1968 when we were both grad students at Humboldt State University in fisheries. And so we've been friends, lifelong friends ever since. He still lives in the area there. Got his master's there and wound up as a log skinner.
Oh,
Sort of a lifestyle, lives a lifestyle. But he's a really neat guy. He came up to OIMB and taught fish printing in one of the workshops.
whose shirt is that? Is that your shirt or
My shirt,
his?
yeah, one of my shirts, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's been washed much more than his.
Yeah, his looks brand new.
Right.
Where he lives, it's always cold.
Oh, so he doesn't wear it as much,
Hot
maybe.
t-shirt weather.
This is a fabulous picture, Chris. Tell
Right.
us about this.
Okay, this is the NPS workshop in Driftwood in Minnesota, organized by Sonia Larson back in, was it 1999? And there's a huge number of people who are still printers, some people who aren't with us anymore, but we had a ball there. We were introduced to, it was the first time we met Darlene Brooks, who was like a hurricane, came roaring in. And she and Eric spent a lot of time giggling the whole week.
Wait a minute, she's holding up a paper.
And she's holding up a paper bag. She's,
Oh, I see. She's the one with the paper bag. Yeah.
yeah, right, yeah. She got left holding the bag, literally.
And Eric's right behind her with the beard.
Right, right, yeah. So people are younger here. We got,
Wow.
there's a mullet
Is
in
he
the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these people. There's Pat Gittens, who's on the phone call today. Yeah, lots of people there.
Wow.
And Gudrun, yeah, there's Gudrun, unchanged.
Tell us about the early conferences. Did they also go for a week or what was that like?
They varied. Some of the ones we had we had a couple in Santa Barbara. That might be like a long weekend, 3 days.
Ah, okay.
Went out to Catalina Island. Maybe 3-4 days out there.
Uh-huh.
And which was a neat place to do it. I mean, it's a little pain to get there, but it was a beautiful place. And we went to the USC Marine Lab.
Wow.
Yeah.
How far is Catalina off the coast? You take a ferry?
Yeah, it's 26 miles across the sea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you at this workshop? Was this a week?
This one was a week. Yeah.
Wow. And did they have the same format that we have now? With
This was it was a similar format. There were much fewer people, but it was a smaller location. It was a small enough group so that Linda Torbay and I could go fishing for a day and come back and have enough walleye for people to eat and print, or print and eat in that order.
wow.
So it was a neat spot.
You had some Norwegian delicacies, you told me.
We did. We had some. There was a Norwegian Heritage Night that Sonia had arranged with the staff there, celebrating the Norwegian heritage of the locals. And there were some foods there, lutefisk and other foods that some people were very vehemently unhappy with. But great music and good time was had by all.
It looks like a really fun day. I feel summer in that picture.
Yes, yes.
And yet it looks so familiar, like all the other ones of us standing on steps and standing in amphitheaters, and just a bigger picture for since I've joined.
Yeah. Right in the middle, there's Sharon Huffman, our newsletter editor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, this is a flounder print, one of my favorite indirect prints I did. I'd seen some of the Japanese prints of printing both sides of a flatfish like this. There's a surprising amount of relief on the underside. And so I just love doing it like this and overlapping it. So it's hanging on my wall right back here.
Oh, so is it indirect
Yeah,
both?
this is indirect on silk.
And both sides are indirect.
Yes.
I like the grayness
Right.
against yeah.
That's what color it is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go.
White and gray, yeah.
I'm
Yep.
thinking what sets off the top, and the gray is so beautiful and neutral and accurate.
Yeah.
So Ah, this one.
Golden trout. There's a story about this. These are little trout. This is the state fish of California. They're found in the high Sierras. They're sort of like rainbow trout, but they're absolutely garishly colored. And they're found like at 8 to 10,000 feet elevation. And I was doing this because the Department of Fish and Game was going to have a conference on trout. And so they wanted a trout print. So I said, you get me golden trout alive and I will print it for you because I want to see the colors before I do it. I'm not going to look at pictures of them. So they electroshocked about 4 or 5 of them up in the Sierras. The woman was coming up. She lived not far from here. We met at a gas station, put up the backs of our cars, looked like a drug transfer, and put the fish into my, again, it was a cooler or something like that, a little cooler. And they were alive and brought them home. And we had a big mayonnaise jar. We tried to pour them in there. And there was more water in the cooler than there was room in the mayonnaise jar. And so the fish flopped out and went right down the garbage disposal. So
2 of them.
2 of them went down, 2 of them survived. So I couldn't get my hand down there. Christy got her hand down there. And these poor fish were hoping that I would turn on flip the switch, put them out of their misery. But they survived, and I got beautiful prints out of them the next day. I could observe them alive, swimming around the water. So that's the story, and I've used it on T-shirts and reproduced it on things, and it's been a very popular print.
I have this one printed on green, I think. Yeah. It's really, it's got the energy of life in it.
When we first looked at it in the cooler, you couldn't see it. I mean, you could only see the tops of them. So.
Oh, just looking down.
Oh, we should have it so we can look from the side. I've got a big mayonnaise jar. One of those gallon jars.
Right, like sun tea. Yeah.
I never thought about not having enough room. And I put the plunger, I put the plug in the sink, but all this water came in and that caused the plug to pop up out of the sink. I mean, out of where it should have been. Down they went.
Oh, man.
The ultimate KitchenAid. Okay.
So you just had 3?
I think I had about 4, maybe 4 or 5. I don't remember.
But one of them died.
One of them, yeah. One of them said, "The hell with this."
There's a big shock.
I'm out of it. Yeah.
Could you eat them, or were they too small?
They were really small. They were like 6 inches or so.
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah. Okay, this book was very helpful when we started out, Tom Sharp and I, and there was a little cohort of printers in Humboldt, including Carl Kalb and Bill Twyble and Ron Warner. And we used this book, and Dr. Hiyama wrote me letters describing techniques, stuff like that. So it was really an important book to us. It describes direct, indirect, and transfer methods in pretty good detail. And it had been translated. The translation out of the Japanese came because of Janet Canning at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, who was a fish printer. And she arranged for University of Washington to do the translation.
While he was there.
Yeah, Hiyama was there.
I've looked at this book on Amazon, and it's hard. Well, first of all, it's hard to find, but now it's worth a fortune. It's very rare.
Yeah, it shows up occasionally at MBS auctions. I've seen it a couple times. Keep your eyes open.
Keep your eyes open, yeah. Here's another book.
Yeah, Boshu Nagase, who Mineo arranged for us to have a visit when we were, a group of us went over there, Jack Schwartz and Heather and Christy and Mary Schwartz. We had a group of us who went. Susan Hansen. And so we went to his house, and he not only hosted us there, he gave us he made prints for each of us, gave each of us a trout IU print, which we brought home. and we had a great day with him at his home. And I think it was, he felt he really enjoyed it, and we really felt honored and enjoyed it. So he's an incredible printer. I mean, some of his large scale works on paper are pretty amazing. Indirect method on paper with literally hundreds of prints of leaves, bamboo, and fish.
Oh, I
They're
see.
pretty spectacular. This was just straight illustration for a scientific book,
Right.
which were challenging fish because they're very soft and they break apart, all sorts of stuff. They're really hard to print. So,
Didn't realize that.
yeah.
In his big ones, are they collected anywhere, or can people see them, or?
Well, we have a few photos of them. They might be somewhere. I think they are in France because he gifted a lot of his collection to the Natural History Museum in France and also in Monaco. So it's the stuff is, a lot of it is in Europe.
Okay, I'm glad it's somewhere.
Right, yeah.
You know, we were talking about Peter Heilman and wondering what might happen to his archive.
Right.
Yeah, hoping that will go somewhere where everyone can see it.
And access it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe Maneo could help with that.
Yeah. Okay, well, Maneo knows all about this print because it was for a show that he organized to bring calligraphy and fish printing together in the NHK headquarters in Tokyo. And it was really fun to see that. And he videoed a lot of the calligrapher doing her thing with huge brushes and with an audience. And in the US, you don't see a lot of calligraphers with an audience. I felt really neat because my impression of the calligraphy is that it's represents the two fish swimming together, kind of togetherness in a pair.
Yeah,
and the shape of the calligraphy to me is very compatible with the fish.
Mm-hmm. Were there so there was a whole show of many with the different calligraphy?
Yes, and there was some with just straight calligraphy. Maneo can mention more about it when we get to the chat time.
Okay, all right. This is the last slide.
Oh, the last slide. Okay, this again was at Friday Harbor, where we got some spot shrimp, which are large shrimp, and we printed them. Maneo was there, several other people were there, and I just thought it was really fun to do a delicate animal like this and get as much detail. And this is indirect again. And then after we were done, we sauteed them and ate them, beginning a long tradition of NPS feasting on our subjects.
You said this was about 5 inches or?
5, 6 inches, hey, probably 6, pretty good size, 6 inches total length. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. These were beautiful, Chris. Let's go back to talking side by side. I'll stop sharing my screen, which will take a sec. And I guess we're back. We're back. Excellent. Good. I just have a few more questions and then we'll have time to hear from everybody else. We were talking about how we might integrate with other arts organizations across the US. You had some ideas for groups we might connect with or other ways to connect with other arts organizations.
Yeah, well, I'm a member of the California Society of Printmakers, which is been here a long time, and it's a good way to learn some new ideas about printmaking. I would think particularly for leaf printers, because these printers are incorporating leaf printing and other techniques that John Dowdy would be happy to see into their works as part of the multimedia stuff. So they're aware of that. They're not fish sensitive or fishophiles like I am,
Right.
but they do a lot of cutting edge stuff. And I assume that there are similar organizations in other states and regions around the country, plus the scientific illustration, the Guild of Scientific Illustrators, which I know Steve DeCervo's been a long
Right.
time member of, and others.
Mhm.
And so there are those sorts of organizations. Then there are organizations, and we should continue reaching out to the Europeans, become much more active, especially the French, but also there's activity in Portugal and other places in Europe, and into Asia, continue our relationships in Japan. And I think there's,
Yeah.
even more, and people should be creative about how they think about mixed media and incorporating nature printing into other art forms, or other art forms into nature printing.
I've seen on Instagram and on Facebook a lot of different printing challenges where people are creating books, doing
Right.
encaustic, doing felting, and incorporating prints as part of all that
Right.
mixed media.
Right.
It's very exciting to see what people are inventing next and where it's going next. There's book binding. It's a big
Right.
world, and I would like to see even more of that at our conferences, just integrating different forms of art with our printmaking.
Right.
Let's see if I have covered everything else here. Oh, this was a fun one. Celebrate our 50 years anniversary coming up with a show or a tour. You had some great ideas about that.
Well, there are a few ideas. We have the archives are going to happen. It looks like I might get down to Santa Barbara and meet up with Jenny and get into the Santa Barbara Museum and to Eric's perhaps, and sort through stuff for the archives. And one idea I had was that perhaps the University of California would be interested in organizing an art show at the big art museum here in Davis on campus, to celebrate the starting of the archives as well as the art form. But we could even go back and maybe contact the Smithsonian or other places that saw the show before and see if back in '81, if anybody's still alive, and see if they'd be interested in hosting something like that. But we would need to, that would take a great deal of organization, and we'd need to have professionals involved in putting stuff like that together.
Could you tell us more about our arrangements with the archives at UC Davis? I see Bill Voigt. I just asked a question. I didn't quite see what it was yet, but
Oh, okay.
Bill asked, are plans for the NPS archives to be digitized and online eventually? If so, how soon will they be online?
How long is eventual? I would say if we get down to Santa Barbara and get back, I suspect that they can start to input the stuff, and maybe by sometime next year, it would be up and running.
Great.
Or the main hassle has been COVID, because we haven't been able to get into the museum or travel down there just because of COVID restrictions. It's not a lack of energy by UC Davis. I mean, they're looking forward to it. And NPS is going to contribute some money to help them with the startup costs. And I think I need to point out that it's going to be mostly digitized because it's just too expensive and too space intensive to have a lot of original art there.
Mm-hmm. Is it a place where we could go and have a tour if some of us happen to show up,
Sure.
Once the stuff was there?
Yeah, you could go, you could view the old rare, whatever, we have some rare books, unusual books. You could look at the examples of prints. They'll have the videos there, all sorts, lots of stuff. And we'll just, once a year, we'll add to it. But I'll know better what's there after we go down to Santa Barbara and Jenny and I sort through the stuff.
And so it's been in Santa Barbara all these years.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Some of it's most of it's at the Museum of Natural History, and some of it's at Eric's house.
We have some time. I have a few more questions, but I'd love for everyone to ask something. What I'd like to do is, if you have a question, why don't you unmute yourself, see if you can, and go ahead and ask it. Go ask your question, see if you're able to unmute. If not, then go ahead and type it in the chat and I'll just keep on going. Okay, maybe
the group can sing 26 miles across the sea, Catalina Island.
All right,
Place-
try it now. I enabled you to unmute yourselves. So if you had a question, feel free to ask it. I'll just pause for a sec.
I'll start. Can you hear me okay, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's
tell us who's
This
speaking.
is Andrew. This is Andrew.
Andrew?
Is Andrew?
Sorry, yeah, this is Andrew. Thank you. It was great history and obviously lots of years put into it. But given that, what's been your most rewarding part of starting this amazing organization?
Oh,
Question, but
well, yeah. The most amazing part is the level of cooperation and sharing. There's a Japanese term called giri, G-I-R-I, which means sort of the reciprocal sharing of information. And people who have fit in well to the organization are ones who share and help out, and it makes it a rich organization. And we never imagined that it would become as broad a group and as successful a group. So that's the pleasure. The pleasure is that it has sustained itself, and the idea of willingly sharing ideas has persevered.
thank you.
I set the setting different again because I'm learning myself. I think you should be able to unmute yourself if you care to as we go along. I think I took that restriction off. Chris, I wanted to ask if you had a favorite fish. If there was a fish you just loved printing, couldn't get enough of it, or it was rare or
Love
something.
pitching or whatever.
No, printing.
Printing, I really like printing the poacher from Japan, the dragon poacher from Japan. That was neat. Actually, I really like, for direct method, I like rockfish because they have nice heavy
Yes.
spines and they're so colorful and bright.
Right.
And I like, what else do I like? I'm trying to think of an indirect print I really like. Yeah, those probably rock and surf perch are really interesting because they're so subtle and they're a
Yeah.
great indirect print.
Why is that?
They're very subtle. They have lots of detail, but they're very, very subtle.
Mhm.
And you have a chance to do gradation, counter shading very subtly.
Ah,
I enjoy that. Yeah. And I still really enjoy the direct method quite a bit. I mean, I recently caught some white sea bass in San Francisco Bay, which is the absolute #1 fish to catch and eat on the Pacific coast, and printed it direct. I was much happier with my direct printing with it. And they're big, and so I had to use Okawara paper, the large oversized paper. So
wow.
I really
Wow.
enjoy that. Yeah.
Did you print right there on the dock or did you bring it
No,
home?
no, brought it home. Yeah.
I think there's a question here from Nora.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, Nora says, we met in Paris and with Boshu Nagase's prints several years ago, but complexities arose. We weren't able to get that show going quite. I like your ideas for future cooperative shows. That would be wonderful. It really, I can imagine, Chris and I, before we all met together, we're imagining traveling around, having different shows around the world once we're free to travel.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I can tell Nora that we'll always have Paris.
That's what we will.
Looks like
We
Bea had
didn't
a
manage
question.
to see Nagase's prints when we were there.
Yeah, we didn't.
We
No.
went to Kieran.
Looks like Bea had a question.
B?
I don't know.
Hi, yep,
Okay.
see, Chris, what
Yeah.
is your absolute favorite thing you've ever printed?
Well, the least favorite was the chipmunk.
Mammals are awful. I agree.
Yeah.
Golden Trap.
Yeah, I'd say the golden trout was probably the most rewarding because it was so spectacular.
I was thinking you might have said your grandchildren, but
Well, I did, yeah, right. Yeah, I had that little section on printing with grandchildren. Yeah, they're kind of like tampos.
yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to ask? You should be able to unmute yourself. You can just jump right in if you want to.
Want to say hi to Pat?
Yeah, I'm seeing everybody on here. It's really wonderful. All right, Chris, I just have one more question for you. Is there a fish you're aspiring towards? Is there one that's you're just waiting to have an opportunity to print this certain fish? You know, maybe you're going to travel there and look for it.
Yeah, I'd like to do a bonefish.
Ah,
One time I went and caught bonefish. It was totally catch and release. And I proposed the idea of doing a print for them, and they proposed the idea of me letting that fish go.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know them. Are they very big?
No, they're not real big, but they fight like they're really big.
Okay.
They live on the flats, reef flats in the tropics. They're kind of like mullet a little bit. They look a little like mullet, and they fight like they're twice as big as they are. And you catch them on mostly fly fish for them, but you can catch them on bait too.
Mhm.
They're
And why
beautiful-
would you
beautiful
like?
fish.
I'm sorry.
Just because they're so, they have beautiful scales, kind of unique structure, and they're sort of an iconic fish.
Yeah.
And because I can't, because
Sue, can I speak?
Yes, absolutely.
So first of all, I think this idea of a live interview is a great one. I really hope that we can continue doing this. It's wonderful to see the two of you having a conversation back and forth. Having a conversation with all of us at once doesn't work very well on Zoom, but this format is really terrific. So please keep doing it. And the two of you are great being interviewed and interviewing. So thank you so much. I really like it.
Thank you, Nora. Chris and I practiced. You know, we wanted to give you guys a good 45 minutes. So
right.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I certainly did.
I was going to wear a fish costume, but I couldn't.
Oh, darn.
I got a shirt. Yeah,
There you
look
go.
out.
Oh, nice.
There you go. Yes. Another question? No? Okay. Well, if that's it, I want to thank you all for coming. It is wonderful to see you all in your studios and your desks at your computers. I want to thank you, Chris, for being our test case. You were fabulous.
Oh, I got one other thing.
Yes.
One other thing. I want to give them an update on the archives a little bit.
Oh, good. Yes.
30 people have CVs and some pictures of digital images of some of their work in there, and I would encourage people to volunteer to do that, and I can send them the templates to do it. We have sort of a template to do it, and I think it would be good to have people in there if they feel like they'd like to be preserved, embalmed in the archives.
Is there any, I mean, you know, some people might feel kind of modest, like maybe they're not the best, but they have a nice print, or is there a certain criteria that we should think of if, you know, if we're deciding whether to put ourselves forward for this?
Just use your own judgment, whatever.
Okay.
We won't be judgmental about this.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Somebody may have
Don't be shy.
people may have one idea or technique that no one else is doing, and something unique. And I was thinking, like, I invited Elena Orsini to be in there, and she has submitted her stuff on rock printing.
Right.
And she hasn't printed in 30 years, but she has unique skills and a different style. So, whatever. Just don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't come out and slap you over the head.
All right. Anything else? Oh, Bill, I see Bill types this couple here in the chat. Mineo says, thank you, Chris, for showing the OPA print.
Oh, okay.
And Bill Voigt says, is there a fundraising site to donate to for the archives? I haven't thought
Not
of
yet.
that. but
No,
maybe
no,
you
we
have.
haven't, no, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay.
I need to talk to the UC Davis people a little bit about how we might do something like that in the future. So.
Yeah, we could set up a so-called scholarship program or donations from the auction or other stuff.
Right.
Ooh, Mineo's holding up a beautiful, you could unmute yourself, Mineo, and tell us what it is. It's beautiful.
The moon, what he calls a moonfish, opa.
That's the Opa.
Yeah,
Ah,
There are different kinds.
yeah, there are about 5 species of them.
yeah. I'll wait till Mineo's looking up. It looks good. Thank you to Alina Corsini for teaching rock printing at Asilomar. I loved it. That's from Sharon. Yeah, I wish I'd had a chance to do that.
Yeah, it's Orsini. There's no C on the front. So,
Oh, sorry.
well, it's all your fault.
Anything else, anyone? All right, it's great to see you.
Dang, spell check.
Great to see you. Chris, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Everyone have a great evening. We're going to end this call, but remember, it will be archived coming up in April. We will put it up and we'll let you know how to get to it so you can watch again or just watch certain parts. Take care, everybody. We'll see
If
you
you're
all
having trouble
soon.
sleeping, if you're having trouble sleeping, turn